morning, and welcome to Listen In, Community, Conversations, Connection. I'm Pam Holland, and you're listening to Tacoma Radio WOWD 94.3 FM. For many of us, the ability to slow down and listen to our own inner guidance is an untapped resource. On this show, our guests will be sharing powerful ways that they have learned to listen into their own inner wisdom and create more ease and joy in their lives. So today I'm thrilled to be with Reemberto Rodriguez, the director of the Silver Spring Regional Area for Montgomery County and chief cheerleader for Silver Spring, also sometimes known as the unofficial mayor of Silver Spring.
That we say that with a smile and with the honor and respect of our wonderful elected officials.
So you can call Reemberto any of those things. I like to call him a jolly old soul because not old in that way.
Old is okay.
I mean, you know, Reemberto, one of the things that impressed me about you right from the minute I met you was how jolly you are. I mean, you know, many of us are so serious. So serious.
Oh, I totally. I live by some bumper stickers, and one of them is it's growing old, which I am, is inevitable, but growing up is a choice, and I've chosen not to grow up.
Great.
So that's the. I will remain. I'm serious when it demands seriousness, but most of the time it really doesn't, and so I think living life joyfully it's a big part of who I am.
Yes, and I love that. And I think that even the serious things that we all have to face each day, when approached lightheartedly, just bring us so much, give us more choices and bring us more ease.
Absolutely, because frankly, I mean, I sometimes sign off my emails with enjoy, but written with lowercase e, lowercase n, capital J, O-Y, and enjoy, because otherwise, why are we here if not to share? Not necessarily bring, but to share in that joy with others.
Yes. And so, as you know, our show is called Listen In. And I'm just curious, what relationship, if any, do you think listening in to your inner guidance or your inner wisdom might have to do with joy?
It's the starting point. When we listen in, listening in to the joy, others would call it the blessings, others would call it the positive, and it's not about Pollyannically thinking, oh gee, let me just stay with the positive, but to really, that is the starting point of the day is really thinking through the joyful moments of yesterday.
Is that the way you start each day?
Actually, yes. It's a simple practice of an examine of how yesterday went, and no, I do not stay in exclusively the joyful moments. Every day, though, has plenty of those. Start there and move on. Then, yes, reflect on where the many infinite failures and missteps and mishaps. But start and end with the joyful moments and the blessings and the thankfulness.
That's great. That's wonderful. And do you have other practices that help you to listen in?
I think that the matter of being intuitively empathetic, of really when I am with anyone to truly know that that person is valued, and that person is who he or she is, and really try to connect in a way that I can step back and learn from that person, because one of the most joyful parts of life is how amazingly we can learn from everybody we meet.
Everybody, yes, not just the people we plan to meet, but every chance encounter has an opportunity.
Absolutely.
In it. So, as a child, were you encouraged to listen in?
No. So I'm originally, I was born in Cuba and spent my early childhood in Cuba, and we Cubans are kind of loud, so listening in was I think it was more like who can talk the loudest, and in a big family, mixed families of actually in the household 11. So it was listening was not necessarily part of that early childhood training, if you will, except that I was the youngest of that household. And I call it household because it was mixed. It was aunts, uncles, cousins, and I was the youngest. So I guess I was told to listen, if you will.
To listen,
Yes.
but not necessarily to listen in.
Exactly.
To listen to your elders, perhaps.
Absolutely. That whole concept of listening to the elders, it's simply embedded in the culture, and not just relatives, but something that I took with me from childhood is the value of engaging and listening to I guess we elders, and I guess nowadays the word seniors, and the value of that, and the wonderful stories that only age can bring. So.
And what opportunities have you had in your position as chief cheerleader to listen in to others in our community who might have more years or more wisdom?
I would say the yes, blessing and the joy of having been in this role now for 6 years is the amazingly wonderful people that I continue to run across, interact with. I think on the senior side of it, our senior village in 20910 and in the Tacoma Park Senior Village, folks that yes have been around, and there's a value in having been around and listening to their stories, and frankly that, like, soon I'll be headed down to Miami for a weekend to partake of the woman that raised me, my aunt, her 80th birthday. So to listen, to just sit around my old aunt. By the way, she's the youngest. I have aunts and uncles way into their 90s, and listening to their stories and wisdom, to me, is great. Here in Silver Spring, there's another group in particular that is amazingly wonderful, and that's in the Ethiopian community. Oftentimes on Veterans Plaza, you see the elders hanging around and just talking in the rocking chairs there, and I'd like to come up to them and just ask if I can listen in. And even though most of the time they're speaking in Amharic, still the whole point is of these elders sharing.
Right. Great. And I'm glad you mentioned the villages, and for our listeners out there, we'll put links to those resources, please. The Silver Spring Village and the Tacoma Village projects. And just sort of going to the other end of it, what about the youngsters? Do you have opportunities to listen to the youngsters?
As a new grandfather, my first grandchild is now 6 months old. But listening to youngster, through life, I've had the joy of being able to mentor young Latino men. as they enter higher education, and the unabashful, beautiful, wonderful, unjaded voice of the young people, to me, is simply one of my biggest source of just hope, if you will, because I don't like it when people say, "Oh, to the young people, you're the leaders of tomorrow." No, these folks are the leaders of today. And in Silver Spring, on Veterans Plaza, to find the young people that hang out around downtown and around other areas in Silver Spring, and to approach them, and they say, "What's this old guy coming over? What's he?" And I just approach them and invite them into conversation. And at first it's a little odd and awkward, but oftentimes they are engaging, and to share some of that. If there is old wisdom, there's also a lot of young wisdom, and which I absolutely love because it is invigorating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned your practice of reviewing the prior day and looking for the joyful, being grateful, and also reflecting on things that perhaps you would choose to do differently another time. Are there other practices that?
Well, the challenge, I have found that being most useful, actually, not just do it in the morning, but also somewhere along the day, maybe as I'm driving up to Rockville or whatever, and so that. Now, but beyond that, I think is the daily reflections. In my case, I am a practicing Catholic. That is, I'm practicing, and I'm a long way from getting it right. So that to me is the foundational, spiritual foundation, and that provides the daily source.
Right. So many tools there in your faith.
Yes.
Yes, that's wonderful, wonderful. So what other thoughts did you have before coming here about what we might talk about?
Well, think how listening is in our community. I've got to give a shout out to one particular group that's doing these listening circles, if you will, throughout our community, and that's Impact Silver Spring. When they bring together folks from different walks of life and establish trust, which is oftentimes a prerequisite to listening, and simply listen without being judgmental, without being which is very difficult, without being prejudicial, which is very difficult, without having I'm here in this circle, but I think I know what they're going to say. And so I think that approach in our community to folks coming together, particularly across different, not just ethnic, but the very difficult line of coming together across economic lines, and simply listening to folks and really being empathetic and connecting to their stories. So I think that in our community, and a lot of groups do it. I think it's wonderful, and many of the faith communities do it, and that's really beautiful. That genesis, that sparks listening in groups to each other, sparks all sorts of positive, joyful things.
So the group you mentioned, is there a particular protocol that supports folks being able to listen to one another?
That's interesting, and I will not. They are wonderful, Impact Silver Spring, and they will. I will not speak for them, if you will. My take is that what they do so beautifully great is that they will do door knocking in community in the good old-fashioned way. And when I say door knocking, I don't mean just go knock on a door, but truly connect with folks in a way that enlists trust and invite folks to have a shared experience, because ultimately relationships are built on shared experiences. If there is no shared experiences, there is no relationship. So their approach of convening these small groups. It's a sensible way to build, to continue building this community we have. At the other in other places, and I do very much want to give a shout out to some of our traditional established civic organizations. And there was a book way back then called Bowling Alone, which talked about the demise of traditional civic organizations and the likes, and the Rotary clubs or the Kiwanis Club. Well, there's a comeback here. I know for a fact the Rotary Club and the Kiwanis Club and others are coming back strong because the more high tech we go, the more high touch we need. And our civics provide a really wonderful space for folks of somewhat sometimes like-minded, and that's a good thing sometimes in a space to really connect. And we have some really great civic organizations in Tacoma Park, Silver Spring.
Great. I can tell folks that we're going to have a big, long list of resources attached to this interview, and that's very exciting for me. Any other thoughts or resources that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think that on the resource side, I would venture to put on the table our amazing network of nonprofits. And I know that if I start mentioning them, I will leave some out. But the amazing network, and I want to differentiate here a second of community serving local nonprofits and the more larger worldwide nonprofits, which are awesome. We have here in Silver Spring the headquarters of some of these international and national nonprofits that do wonderful work, and we also have a network of locally serving nonprofits, board of directors or local folks that live down the street from you and me, and getting involved with these nonprofits. I mean, we talk about buying local, which is fantastic. I would suggest going a step farther and living local and gifting local and volunteering local. I'm all for, please, don't misunderstand me. I'm all for the traditional faith mission works or my best friend, my good friends at Peace Corps and etc. doing work elsewhere. That's indispensable. And not but, oftentimes that biggest opportunity to connect and to listen to others that you would normally not listen to is to volunteer for these locally serving nonprofits that are doing work literally in our own backyard.
Wonderful, wonderful. I look forward to getting those resources for you and sharing them with our listeners. And I think what came up for me just then when you were speaking about that was, oh my gosh, there's going to be too many choices. And then I thought, that's an opportunity to listen in and, take whatever steps you our listeners take to hear your inner voice. And I love the and, not or. We can't volunteer for every organization every day, but we can make a difference. And we can listen to our hearts and contribute to our communities. And
on that note, I'd like to bring up the word that's discernment. It's rather
discernment. Yes,
discernment, to really go beyond simply the plus minus exercise and literally. Letting, as you so well put it, that inner sense come forth, and yes, we are blessed in Silver Spring with many opportunities to connect, and as we listen to our inner voice and we really discern the old classic standards of being careful not to discern in moments of desolation, to look for also Yes, good old-fashioned advice from others, because more often than not, we in our own listening to our inner selves, we may forget that our friend's voice might be exactly what we need to hear. So that connecting with others and saying, look, here's where my head is at. And we all have those trusted individuals that we can approach to help us discern what our choice would be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just one last question, if I may. Are there things that you have noticed that get in the way of your listening in?
Yeah. My jadedness. If that's I don't know if that's a word, but I think on a personal note, yeah, because you grow, like I hope I can say this: you grow old and you grow jaded, and some do. Some of us. So I'm trying to really work on that. You go like, oh my goodness, oh geez. So I think that has been a challenge for me personally, and that gets in the way. And the other piece is realizing that in a community like ours, there's no wrong choice. It's almost like whatever nonprofit you choose to go to participate in, or whichever faith community is your choice, we are really blessed with an amazing variety. So yeah, the choices are many. So that challenge is real. So I would say those two things. And the third key thing for me, an impediment to the process is that I like a lot of stuff. And so there the opportunities to engage throughout, sometimes you end up going wide rather than going deep. And be it on a spiritual practice or on a relationship or on a checking out a new restaurant. So you went once and you feel you know it. Say, wait a minute, no you didn't. You gotta go back, you gotta go back again, try that other dish, and so I think the challenge of the first world we live in, that it's easy to go wide and very difficult to really go deep in relationships.
Well, I have to say that it's very difficult for me to picture you jaded.
Thank you.
But thank you so much for being with us today on ListenIn Show. And we look forward to getting all the resources that you've mentioned on our website at ListenInShow.com.